Hello my dear, and welcome to our war vlog from Dnipro. Right now I'm at home and you can see the shadows everywhere, and lighting is not very good. It is because I'm trying to save as much of the electricity as possible. Probably you have seen on the news the situation with our energetic system. After the latest bombing on Tuesday, the main sub-electrical stations, the main spreading boxes, they were damaged, and because of this the whole system was taken down. And right now, gradually, step by step, our energetics are trying to restore the electricity. But as per today's morning, only 25% of people had any kind of electricity. And when it happened, it was Wednesday, we had the normal outages, normal blackouts, and this was the first week when they actually were working according to the schedule, because we had the schedule for some time already, but most of the outages were emergency outages and they were never according to the schedules. So starting from Monday, we had the outages exactly according to the schedule. So I was able to adjust my work a little bit. I scheduled lessons at the time when I used the would-be electricity, and also on top of this, my flat has a different zone than my mom's flat, and I can work here when she has an outage, and then when there's an outage here, I can go there. And it was more or less stable. It was annoying still, but it got into some kind of comfort zone. But on Tuesday there was a major bombing, and it is not something new, because I told you about these mass bombings. At one time it was more than 100 rockets trying to explode some energetic system here, something, some kind of spreading box or the grid or something. So they were targeting exactly energetic infrastructure. And most of them actually hit down by the anti-missile system, but some of them they arrive. And every time they do this mass bombing, there are up to 20 arrivals, but all these 20 arrivals, they're hitting some target. And because of these mass bombings, I don't remember how many were there, probably 6 or even 7. Every week, during 7 weeks, they had these mass bombings, and every time up to 20 missiles arrived to hit something. So this Tuesday it was critical. And it was critical to the point that the whole country had a major blackout. And I didn't know that if you don't have electricity, you have nothing, because I thought that we have diversified energy sources, for example, for heating. I was always thinking that if we have centralized heating, it doesn't depend on the electricity, but that is not true. Everything depends on electricity. Water supply depends on electricity because of pumps, and for the same reason heating depends on electricity also because of the spreading pumps and everything. So when we had this outage, we didn't have water, we didn't have heating, obviously we didn't have electricity, and the worst thing, according to my experience, I don't know, maybe you would laugh on me, but for me the worst was the loss of connection, because I'm working online and a very big part of my life is connected to online. I'm resting online, I'm a very technological person, and there wasn't any connectivity, so the mobile system also didn't work. Obviously you don't have the cable connection because it depends on this also spreading boxes, but I assumed that there would be a mobile connection because it should be like some kind of cell towers or something, but we figured out that they all depend on electricity, because the towers are connected to the grid. And only half of the towers were operating because they had the generators. And they were operating only for a while, because generators are not eternal. The outage has started at 2:30 p.m. on Wednesday, And by the evening, by 9 p.m., the whole connectivity was gone. So you were not able to call anyone, you were not able to text anyone, there were no internet whatsoever, no electricity, no heating, no water. And the worst thing was that you don't have any news. There was a radio, but they played music there. They didn't tell anything really. And later, after we had the electricity back, I discovered that there were some news, but they were scarce because officials also didn't know how long would it take to restore the system or what's going on. We have several big nuclear power plants in Ukraine, and all of them stopped because they didn't have where to put their energy, so they didn't have the spreading boxes, and because you don't have the spreading box, you cannot give the electricity to the grid. So the power stations thankfully are not damaged, but when they produce electricity, they don't have anything to, like, they don't have the grid, and that made them stop. It is very harmful for them, and it is a nuclear power station. That's why it's very dangerous. If they don't have generators to feed themselves, there might be irreversible processes, and it can lead to an explosion. So it's a very dangerous play that Russia is playing now. They're not only playing with us, they're also playing with the whole world, because if something happens on the nuclear power plant, it will be a huge damage to the universe, at least to our Earth. And in this situation, people were lost. I would say that we were kind of prepared for it, but even though I thought that I'm mentally prepared for the situation, we predicted it. You cannot be fully mentally prepared, and the major effort for me, it was to calm down, and I couldn't, because I need connection. I tried to do something. I refused to understand that there is no connection, and that's probably the biggest problem. Some people, they acted completely irrational. They started to go and buy bread. So the panic buying this time, it was just buying bread and water. But water I can understand. It's literally we didn't have water in the taps and people needed water. We have the big river, also called Dnipro here, and people went to the river, who lived nearby, people went to the river to get at least technical water. Technical water meaning for washing hands or for washing like some hygiene purposes, but drinking water, it was something tough. Our local government said that they would make the kind of water columns, and they did it in some places nearby. So we have a few of them, but they are not solving the problem of the drinking water, because the water from this column is like emergency drinkable. It has some parameters that are out, and for example, one of them, it was analyzed, and there is a huge iron. But if you boil it, you wouldn't die if you drink it for a short time. So for over a long period of time, it can bring damage to your health, but over a short period of time, it should be okay. And also, everybody asks me if we are freezing. Right now the temperatures in Dnipro, I cannot say about all Ukraine, but we had +6 today, for example, and I'm sitting here just in layers, so I have 3 layers on myself now. You can see that specifically unzipped myself so you can see it. And also I'm wearing 2 pairs of socks right now again, because even though we have electricity, they recommend to save it as much as possible so the system wouldn't be overloaded. And to control the situation, at least a little bit, I bought the thermometer, and it shows 15 degrees right now in this flat. And my mom's flat is a little bit better because she normally has a central heating, and when the electricity is back, she has at least some heating back. And she has normally 20-21 degrees, but when there is an outage, it loses up to 4 degrees, so it's like 18, but never below 18, 19, 18, so it's more or less good. That's why I'm sleeping there with my mom. But also I'm sleeping there because my mom is extremely stressed, and old people are extremely stressed. Even my aunt, who doesn't depend on electricity for heating or for water because she has a private house, she said that she is depressed over the situation, and also it's November, it's a very dark month, it's a cold month, it's quite depressive month by itself, but now we have like objective reason to be depressed. As for the supermarkets, they are working on generators, but not all the time and not all of them. So there are big queues, but not because of panic buying. Except bread, there is no panic buying, and I cannot explain why people, like everybody wants the loaf of bread, which is so irrational and crazy. Most people, even who don't eat bread, they want one. It's hard to explain, just something deep-rooted in our generations, because we are the first generation who lived, or second generation, if count our parents, who lived without hunger. The last hunger in Ukraine was after the Second World War, and I hope it wouldn't repeat. But the bread, the necessity to have bread, it's something that we passed over the generations. That's why it's like irrational impulse to buy bread, because it's the feeling of security, I would say. Also, there are queues on gas stations because they depend on electricity, and they also working on generators. I wouldn't say that it's panic buying, but there are queues because not all of them are working, and again, it's limited distribution. And people are trying to adjust to the situation, but we don't know how long would be these blackouts and how many would be there and when we have electricity. Like even when I'm recording this video, any moment I'm expecting the light to be gone. That's it. And the thing I'm hoping the most that our government wouldn't give up, and because Russians, they do it in order to blackmail our government and to say that if you want to stop your population from struggling, you should sit on the negotiation table, and we need to discuss how you're going to surrender. But on the battlefield itself, we have good news. We have the news about the occupation of Kherson, which not news anymore. I'm sorry that I didn't record the video about it. We have the information that probably Svatova will be taken soon, and Svatova is a big point where we can distribute water to the deoccupied territories, so it will be a big achievement. And also there are very active fights on the front line, very active, and nobody says what's going on exactly, but all the signs show that it is in our favor. So that is the moment when Russians want us to surrender the most, because they know that they are losing on the battlefield. That is the situation. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me or to write it below this video. And thank you so much for your support. Thank you a lot. I got a lot of messages with very warm words. We will go through this winter. I don't know how yet, but we will. And also we will win this war. Thank you for your help. That contributes a lot for it. So that's it. That's good that we had electricity and I finished this video. And I hope to see you soon under the better circumstances. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.